Would you like to talk more about marijuana?
No, not by any means. Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
And now, broadcasting live from the Ding Studios at 3835 Elm Street in Denver, Colorado. It's the Grind and Burn, a podcast from the Cannabis Community Project. Cushly Organic Products eliminates odor. And it's organic and it's non-toxic. I use it myself, and many of my close friends and family use it. www.cushly.com.
The 6 degrees of Cushly. Yeah, it's amazing.
Are you ready? Welcome back, Cannapreneurs. Are you ready for Halloween coming up next week? Are you an adult who still celebrates this holiday? Are you an adult that is still dressing up and pretending to engage in the childlike activity of costume wear? I hope you're not going door to door, but let's rethink our holidays. How many stereotypes will you be able to count this year on Halloween? Let's see, we have the mandatory slutty girl, slutty cop, slutty cat, pretty much anything slutty, right? And then we have, on the men's side is probably going to be something offensive, because when you're an adult, you can't just, put on a sheet and be a ghost or, hatchet man through the head. You have to actually try to offend people. And this is such a stupid holiday, just my opinion. Why do we celebrate this holiday? With so many people and events already celebrating this day in some type of quasi-national unity about what we don't know, why this one? Maybe we could repurpose Halloween, like they did with Columbus Day, changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. Maybe we could repurpose it into a new holiday. Since we're already kind of united, right? Around this day at the end of October where we get pumpkins and send our children out to strangers to get candy because it's not cheap enough at Walmart. You already can't buy a 10-pound bag of candy for 99 cents. You need to send people to strangers' houses to get it. What day could it be? Now I'm going to assume you're already jumping to the most obvious jokes of Stoner Day, 420 Day, blah, blah, blah. But seriously, what day could we unite on a national level in the middle of fall as we're transitioning into winter? What could we repurpose Halloween for to actually make it a day worth recognizing every year? Now that would be a paradigm shift, right? Hey, speaking of changing how we think, let's talk about the idea of something that's, I found out this week to be somewhat controversial. Controversial. Overdose. The idea of cannabis overdose. All right? Yes, you heard me. I said overdose. I'm not even going to say other tap around the bush words like overuse and excessive and things to try to avoid saying overdose. Let's just say overdose and look at what it means. Well, Webster says it's simply just an excess of a drug, right? It doesn't make a distinction between toxic and non-toxic, simply an excess of something that's a drug. So what happens when you take too much THC? Now, too much, and for those of you who are only flower smokers, may not understand this concept unless you think way back to the first time you got high, this might have happened to you. But if you've ever taken an edible where you weren't quite sure what the dose was and it turned out to be a 250 milligram or more brownie and you ate the whole thing, or somebody says, hey man, you want to do a dab? You say, what's that? And you're standing up as you take this vaporized concentrate hit of wax or oil or shatter. If you've never been in that situation, that experience, you may not understand the concept of an excess of THC in the body. And this is simply a THC overdose. If you've ever been in that anxiety, that paranoia, the fear, that thing that creeps up on you that says, I'm way too uncomfortable and I might freak out, man. The freak out. Yes, it is real. And yes, there are thousands of emergency room visits of people freaking out on marijuana. Now, that doesn't mean it's toxic, like they're actually in danger, but they're emotionally in danger. And we know this millennial generation coming up, we need to focus just as much on their emotional state as much as their physical well-being. So a THC overdose is a real thing. It's a real thing that can make people freak out, do weird things, visit the emergency room, and all around just not have a good experience because they took too much. Now, yes, it is non-toxic, and it doesn't matter what anything else you say unless it's directly related to how do you help that person in that situation, because it's a real situation. Well, I came across a product last week, a business owner. I found him talking about a product called Canna Relief. His name is Bill, and he is the CEO of CannaSaftey, CannaSaftey.com. You can check him out online and learn directly what their company's all about. Now, my disclaimer is this. I currently have no financial incentive or reward to talk about this company, promote this company, or do anything to shed light on this company in any way that benefits me directly, other than getting to be maybe one of the first few people who get to shed light to the industry of this product. Now, here's what it is, Canna Relief. I'm going to do a test, and we're going to test it out, but it's basically a product that when you're in the state of a THC overdose, you take it and instantly, relatively instantly, it counteracts those symptoms that you're having from a THC overdose. And before you say, well, that's just CBD, man, somebody can just take CBD. Yes and no. Yes, it is a CBD base, but there's also 7 or so other ingredients. Because as you're going to learn from Bill, there's a lot more going on in the body than just a black and white THC up, THC down, CBD up, CBD down type situation. Biology, man, biology. It all works together. So we're going to learn about it. And then I'm going to test it. So before I accept any type of financial incentive or reward or anything from talking about this product, I'm going to do a mass test. And this is what I need. I need you, my audience, to help me out, because I'm going to need a big group of people. I'm not sure how big, but 50 plus people, maybe 400, maybe 420 people, to do a mass experiment where we get a whole bunch of dispensaries and people to produce edibles and dabs in high concentrates, specifically for the purpose of finding those with low to no tolerances, maybe even newbies, to intentionally overindulge, overconsume in a high amount of THC, thus inducing a THC overdose, where the people are uncomfortable, they're ready to freak out, they're asking for help, they're clearly in signs of distress. Then we're going to give them the Canna Relief, and we're going to see how long it takes and who's affected by who. But we're also going to do it in an A/B placebo type setup, a blind study, so there's going to be an equal amount of people who do not know the edibles they are taking. There's going to be those who take edibles but at a very low dose, so they're not actually going to be freaking out. It's going to be so low that they barely even feel an effect. And then they're going to take the product, and then there's going to be those who take a slightly higher dose, but they're going to take a placebo product. Also, we're going to test all 3 states. We're going to document it. We're going to video it, and I'm going to make sure it's part of the show, the Cannabis Community Project Network, through either this show, The Grind and Burn, or maybe even use that as a segue rollover to some regulation policy talk on the new show. Have you heard the new podcast coming out, The Cannabis Factor? Now, this one's official. This one, I promise you, is actually coming out. Over the months, I know I've announced a lot of changes and then changes on top of changes, but here we go. So we firmly now have 2, soon to be 3 full shows of Beyond Sanity by Becca B. Tripp, who's intertwining her second podcast segment, 424 Play. So she's kind of doing 2 segments intertwined into one. And then we have Lillian Grace, our photographic memory policy, regulation, law researcher who is officially going to be hosting the Cannabis Factor, which will be a call-in style show with businesses and individuals, entrepreneurs who need direct, fast access about specific questions regarding policy and regulation in their state, regarding their business. Lillian, with her photographic memory and having read every single piece of legislation in every state that has legislation about cannabis, she can instantly, like a database, tell you what is going on with the risk and compliance management regarding your business or your case or your idea. So that first show will officially be out in December, but the whole feed and the website and everything is up. So check it out, thecannabisfactor.com. Well, there you go. So, remember, for those of you who like to volunteer for the THC test, contact me, brainstorm at cannabiscommunityproject.com, and you will be provided with food and all the goodies and THC product. There'll be medical professionals on hand, as well as plenty of canna relief to counteract the antidote to the THC overdose that you will be voluntarily inducing yourself in. Oh, this could be legally challenging. We might also need to get our friend David Bush from davidlaw.com involved to give us some advice on how to go about doing this product test. Yeah, this could be fun or completely disastrous. All right, let's get moving on with this week's show. And as always, let's quickly jump into our last week's short-term memory flashback relapse. Do you remember last week's show? Do you remember we spoke to Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight? Do you know who Lee Camp is? You should. Do you know what Redacted Tonight is? You should. If you're a fan of John Oliver or Jon Stewart or possibly Stephen Colbert or even Larry Wilmore, that style of comedy and kind of crossover journalism, you want to know who Lee Camp and Redacted Tonight is, because it's all of that, but with a 90% more truthiness than all of those other guys who are kind of, towing the line of corporate media. They're trying not to lose sponsors, and they're trying to make a little bit of money, and they're trying to become popular. So there's a slightly different angle in what separates them. And Lee Camp is up and coming, and he's a real guy. I met him in person. He was cool. He gave me a comp ticket to go out and see his stand-up comedy when he came to Denver. Afterwards, he hung out with a small group of people at the bar and had drinks and chatted. And you know how I know he's a real guy? And this is not just being egotistical, but he laughed at my jokes. And not that they're high-class jokes or good jokes, but he laughed at them in a genuine way. You know how some of those people feel like they're the professional comedian? They're the only ones who can be funny in the room type deal? He was a real guy. I asked him questions, real questions, personal questions. We chatted amongst other people hanging out, and we had fun. And, and we took down some whiskeys. So I hope to talk to him more in the future. Listen to a couple minutes right now from that show, and then go back to that show if you didn't hear it. Like, share, comment, and then we'll move into this week's show with Bill from CannaSaftey. Here we go, Cannapreneurs. Grind and burn. So, because I don't want to take up a lot of your time, I thought I would just kind of summarize for you what your Wikipedia says kind of about you. Can you give me a snapshot of what the overall team is that you're working with and how you go about gathering content for the podcast and the TV show?
Yeah, they're awesome. It's John F. O'Donnell, who you see on the show, Naomi Caravani, and Philip Chang. We've had other correspondents who have come and gone, Carlos Delgado, Abby Feldman, Sam Sachs. But for the most part, with the exception of Sam Sachs, no one comes from a journalism background. We all come from a comedy background. I'm the head writer and the host of the show and pretty much write everything I say. And then the other correspondents write and research what they say. So the podcast is now just the audio of the 2 episodes of Redacted Tonight. So my thought process is not like what's the biggest network I can ever be at, because most of the big networks have they make you toe a very specific line. I mean, you can look at just the amount of coverage that, let's say, third parties get, which is almost none, or the amount of coverage that even Bernie Sanders got. Trump got 23 times as much coverage during the primaries as Bernie Sanders did. So that shows you how much you have to toe this very precise line to be on those networks, and that's why I'm not there, and that's why I don't think I'll be there anytime soon. I mean, the hope is that people don't get burnt out too quickly, and they don't think that just because you have one failure in one effort to change something that they need to give up. I think so. Getting into like stand-up comedy or even one of the peripheral careers like the YouTube comedic commentary, even if you're not performing live, it is a long hard business in a way, so you kind of have to think what you're getting into it for. Like I was saying earlier, I so rarely meet people that believe Fox News, and I get that a certain segment of America does, and that's why the ratings are better than the other networks. I don't feel like I really have to bother with people that think Fox News is a good news source. I do feel like I need to bother talking to people that think MSNBC is not biased.
Man, your show cracks me up. I love everything about it. I learn, I laugh, and I don't miss it every week. And I recommend everybody watch it. It's on YouTube under Redacted Tonight. They can also find you personally, Twitter, Lee Camp, Facebook, Lee Camp Comedian. All right, man, I appreciate it. This has been great. When you get out here to Denver, I don't know where your medical ailments lie, but if you need any Colorado help, just let me know.
Cool, man. Best of luck to you. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. You have a great afternoon and a great weekend.
All right, later.
It's 2016. How long have you been thinking about getting involved in the industry? Now is the time. If you have an idea, a business, or just some comments, talk about them with me on this show. The Cannabis Community Project. It's here for you. Reach out and get on. Brainstorm at CannabisCommunityProject.com or from the website under the same name. Feeling guilty about a time with cannabis? Get it off your chest and confess it on Cannafessions, your public forum to absolve your soul.
New voice message, Wednesday, 4:21 p.m.
Hey, buddy. Our cannabis confession is last year while we were in Europe, specifically Rome, we were staying about a block and a half from the Vatican. We had some hash left over from Paris that I had picked up just underneath the Eiffel Tower. So the wife and I sat a block and a half from the Vatican, smoking up the last of our hash in a pipe we had made out of can and smoking it with a lighter that we had grabbed off of the street. Didn't think too much of the lighter, but then realized the lighter had a picture of the Pope on it. So I'm not sure if I should go back to the Vatican and confess that, but man, I feel a lot better after confessing to you. Thanks a lot.
And that was Cannafessions. If you have a confession to make, contact me via Facebook or the website at CannabisCommunityProject.com.
Yeah, it's a Brooklyn accent.
Why don't you take off your shirt now? Ridiculous. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's hot. Okay.
This is what you call a Brooklyn accent.
The dry land, floating over deserts as I'm looking at the sand, feeling the compression of the weather growing cold, empty up the clip, time to reload, drop it back in, cause you're bound to win, it's just a killing for a sterling, but it's all the same. The true soldier marching through the night, this may be the last of your final sight. Many, 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 bye.
Hello?
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. This is out here in Denver, Colorado with the Cannabis Community Project.
How are you?
Good. I'm doing good, man. I'm glad we were able to meet up.
Had a big show down in Las Vegas. It actually worked out perfect.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. I'm
Oh.
interested in hearing about that. Excellent. Well, I can hear you clearly. I'm sitting in studio with a co-host and friend of mine, Becca B. Tripp, who sits in on shows with me. She is a manager at a local dispensary here in town and also has a wellness business and does some podcasting.
Perfect. Yeah, my name's Bill Roulet, and I'm the CEO of CannaSaftey. We have a line of products that are meant for safe use of cannabis. Our products work exceptionally well, very fast, and are reasonably priced. We're available worldwide. We have distributors in Amsterdam, distribution in Canada, and the United States. And we're very excited to talk about this product and hit the road and be on shows like this so that people can learn that there is something that you can do when you consume too much cannabis as opposed to just going to the hospital and getting an IV. Just take our drink, and usually within about 20 to 30 minutes, you'll be feeling back to normal. You can down on the couch and engage in whatever it is you were doing.
So the first thing I want to jump into is to clarify the word of safety, because originally when I found your profile on LinkedIn, the first thing that came to mind was safety in the sense of security services. Let's first start out by just clarifying and defining exactly what CannaSaftey is and the core product of what you're offering or service.
No, that's a good question because I could see how people could say that. It is for people who overconsume cannabis. Our product has actually three prongs in the fact that for medical users, if you take Canna Relief before you consume the edibles, it will block the transceivers in your brain to not allow the THC to go through, so that you'll be able to then consume the amounts of THC to handle whatever affliction that you're taking the THC for. Then the second one would be is if you've just used it for either medical or recreational and you've gone what we like to call over the red line to where you get the paranoia, anxiety, and even to the point of throwing up in the bathroom, that if you take our product, it is a safety net that, like I said, the responses we've got back from our users speak for themselves. Our product works amazing and it works very quickly.
Is this the equivalent to the product that is sold for alcohol, where if you take it before you go out drinking, it helps absorbs the sugars and things in alcohol so you don't wake up with a hangover the next day? Is it a similar concept type product?
I would tell you it's a similar concept. It's my belief that most of those hangover remedies and all that, they're just caffeine, sugar. Compare the two. It's really like comparing apples and oranges. The idea is the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what I think I heard, which I was like, I want to say something about that because that's a great point to clarify, is some people need the THC component, right? That's something they need for their pain relief, but they don't need the euphoria or the high associated that some people are looking for. So this is something that they can take for the amount of THC that they need, but take away the high feeling that they don't want.
One of the most exciting things to let you know what drives us to do this. About 2 weeks ago, I actually got a call from a gal. She didn't receive the product in a timely fashion, and I take great pride in that. So I called her up and told her that I would personally see to it that her product went out, and I gave her extra product for her inconvenience. I've got to tell you, the next week she called me, and she was actually crying on the telephone, and I thought, oh, my God, what's happened? Mr. Brulé, I want to thank you. You've given me our lives back. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she says, my husband was taking the Rick Simpson oil, and he gave up. He said he couldn't stand the paranoia. It was just making him go crazy, and that he was actually in bed and told her that he was not going to go on anymore with the procedure. She said that she gave him our product on a Wednesday. On Friday, he was up walking around, and on Monday, they were actually going to take a vacation, and she was crying on the telephone to me, telling me that it was just miraculous.
Wow.
Nice. That's amazing.
Is this a product that falls under the health category of products and items? Is this specifically a health-oriented product?
That's where it would be in your local grocery stores and things like that. We don't make any medical claims, so there's no FDA type approval.
What is the core ingredient that's being used?
There are 7 ingredients into it that all formulate to make this work. CBD is one of the ingredients that is in there, but like I said, it's not a CBD product. It is a product that has CBD as an ingredient in it.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm a newbie to cannabis. So what I'm hearing from you is just eye-opening to me, because I have a person that I was working with her cannabis use. She has Lyme's disease. And, the more research, her and I were both doing talking is the THC. She needs the THC. Sometimes it's a negative effect to people, like you said, the paranoia that comes along with it, even though that's what her body needs. And so I think, and you also brought up the Rick Simpson oil, the people that, the Rick Simpsons, that he cured himself with cancer. But let's think about how cannabis acts differently with each person. And so, yes, this might be my cure, but I can't even get through the process because he was so paranoid. Well, is he able to finish the process because he has your product now? So he's able to take his medicine, get the dosage he needs to heal, and still function in the world.
That's exactly right, and he just couldn't do it. The paranoia for him was so bad that he gave up. So that's why I'm just so proud of our product that it answers that. We just had another gal here. The exciting news just keeps coming of unbelievable. I got a call from a gal. She actually bought an entire case up from us, 144 bottles. And about 6 weeks later, she went online. She bought another case. And, of course, I wanted to call her to find out, why she was buying so much and if there was anything we could do for her. And she said that her daughter was having seizures all the time and that it just affected her life so much that she couldn't even go to public school. And she, again, gave her the CannaSaftey product. She's been taking it every day and said that it's just changed her life unbelievably and wanted to thank me. And so we talked with them and we got them some huge discounts because we're about the community too. I mean, we're a for-profit corporation, but we care about people. And for a person to have to take a product on a daily basis, they should be looked after. And that's what we really try to do here at CannaSaftey, is help people.
Is this a product that is proprietary, that's being held under a trade secret or patent of some sort?
Yes, it is. We have a patent pending right now, and we haven't heard anything to the contrary, but it's been in for over a year now, and we're expecting approval any day.
So you've gone past the provisional stage, and you're in the full application for the patent?
That is correct.
Excellent. Well, I hope that comes through. One more cannabis-related product on the market that has a patent behind it, all the better. What is your role in the genesis of this company? You're the CEO, you said. Are you also the inventor, the founder? What is your original role?
No, actually, my business partner is the one that invented it, and he has fibromyalgia and has had it since he was in his 20s. And it was so bad for him that he couldn't sleep at night. And cannabis was the only way that it would allow him to sleep at night. So as a result of that, as you all know, sometimes when you're taking cannabis, that the amount of a rice grain too much puts you over the edge, and so he has a double-edged sword. He can't sleep, and he has pain because of the fibromyalgia, and yet if you take a little too much THC, you're basically in the same type of a boat. So he actually invented this product for himself, and then he was telling me about it one day and how successful it was working on him, and I am the business end of it, and said, Tom, if this works for you, think of how many people that we can use this for. And I'm like, let's take this to market. And we started almost a year and a half ago now, and it has just been phenomenal. The amount of praise and the amount of just people generally loving the product has just inspired us to no end. I go around, and I'm the mouthpiece for the entire company. I go around and talk with everybody, folks like you. I go to the shows and actually talk to all of our users. I personally email them, ask them how things are going, and it's just exciting to see the acceptance of it and how well, like I said, a lot of products claim to do things. Our product does exactly what it says.
And where are you based out of?
Out of Bellevue, Washington.
Are you a national company? Are you focusing regionally on the Northwest until you spread out? What is your overall?
No, actually, international company. We actually have agreements now, like I said, for Europe, for all of Canada, and the United States. So we are selling product right now worldwide. It's like I said, Canna Relief is the first product in our family of products. We have 2 other products that will be out probably by the first quarter of 2017, and we're going to hopefully be the Coca-Cola of the safety industry in the cannabis industry.
Can you find them in dispensaries in Washington, or how are people able to get the product now?
Great question. And I'm going to tell you, this is the part that just is very interesting when it comes to the legal minds that run our government and our country. We can sell this product virtually everywhere in the world except in dispensaries in Washington. It is unbelievable that the only safety product out there in the world cannot be sold in recreational stores in Washington because the law dictates in Washington that in order to be sold, it has to be paraphernalia, pipes and glass, and the products have to carry THC, so they can't even sell a bottle of water in those stores.
Wow.
I think Colorado has some similars.
Yeah.
Similars? Is that a word? Similar things as well.
Similar.
Provisions as well. Certain things can be sold on the rec side. I think certain things on the medical side, and then it has to just be like in a regular shop, like it can be in a Whole Foods or a Vitamin Cottage or something.
Well, this is really one of the times where regulation can't foresee everything that's going to happen in the market. So it has to be set up in such a way where the market can still freely function and be flexible around the regulation so the end goal is still met, which is helping medical patients thrive in a medical medicinal marijuana industry. If something is set up as a barrier that's doing the contrary to that, then we have to get involved, legislation wise or protest or something else. Maybe you need to change and come to Colorado.
And I'll tell you, it's funny you should mention that again. This is what's been very exciting about this too. It just seems like every time I talk to folks like you or whatever, we just signed up a major distributor there in Colorado, and you can be looking for it within the next probably 30 to 60 days. But we're just now moving into that area full-fledged, and we hope to have great success there like we've had everywhere else. It is important for the legislatures, and I've got to give them credit in many places, so I don't want to just slam them, that they do listen, and it does take time with the bureaucracy, but we do speak with them, and they do understand it. So they are trying. It's just they're never trying as fast, and they're never following through as fast as everybody would like. So we are making inroads in that. It's just not going as quickly as we had hoped.
Well, you're the business end of this, so you have to deal with it on a daily basis. Prior to a year and a half ago, what were you doing? Were you involved in the industry?
No, actually, I really haven't been. I've been a CEO my whole life ever since I left high school. I started a phone company and built it up into one of the largest regional telephone companies west of the Mississippi. And
AT&T?
No, more successful one than that. But anyway, went off in another endeavor, was a CEO of that, built that up into a multi-million-dollar corporation. And then when Tom brought this to me, I got to tell you, I was very much a newbie, and I very much was neutral. I didn't really have an opinion on pot. And then I started really reading up on it and really understanding how it works with your body, with your brain, your mind. And I'm like, you know what? Somebody's pulled the wool over the citizens of the world on this for way too long, and people need to really start opening their eyes up and realize that the pharmaceutical companies, we won't point fingers, but have had a monopoly far too long on health in this country, and we need to really start looking at alternative ways that don't have so many side effects.
Oh, I second everything you've just said, 100%. I feel the same way. I feel lied to, and that I've been kept in an unhealthy state, listening to the government. I hate to say government.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
I hate to say government.
Because I'm the only one who watches the shows and hears the side effects that are like as long as my arm in typed print and go, my gosh, whatever you have.
Have it.
Can it be worse than what especially when it's, possible death, I'm just like, really? This is the options we have?
I was talking to somebody this week, and research came out that said Ambien, the side effects of Ambien now is that if you take it even 90 times, your odds of Alzheimer's is doubled or something. I don't know what the research statistic was, but still, that's what we're watching our elderly die with their no brain. They're not not even a soul anymore. Or they're a soul, but they're not even living.
Yeah.
My grandmother lived in that state for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's like, is that how we want to live our life? No, it's quality over quantity. Sorry.
And when you really talk with you guys are so right. When you talk with all these people that are, taking the CBD and you see, I'll tell you myself, I hurt my back a long time ago and I had new disc put in, but it still twinges every time I'm kind of at these trade shows and standing up for 5 or 6 hours. And Tom's like, well, take a bottle of our product. And I drank it and I'm like, oh my God, unbelievable. It only lasted about 3 or 4 hours, but I'm like, it works for things like this too. And he goes, Bill, it does so many wonderful things. It's truly amazing. And I really wish that more people like you guys would put these shows on so that the American public would learn that it is not an evil substance.
Yeah, because you can feel, and I tell people when I talk to them about their cannabis use, because usually one of the very first things I recommend when I talk to people is I ask how their sleep is, because that's like one of the easiest places to start, because we're not sleeping well as a society. But I always tell people, start with half of the serving, usually 5 milligrams, and take it about an hour prior to bedtime. And I ask them about what time they go to bed and what time they're getting up, because they could potentially have a THC hangover the next morning where they feel a little tired, lethargic. And I tell people, just get up, go out in the brisk air, do a quick 15-minute walk, some water, and you'll feel like you had a cup of coffee and you're ready to roll for the day because you slept so good.
That's edible taking, though.
That's an edible
right.
taking.
Yeah.
Sorry. I should have clarified edible.
Right.
And that's correct. And that's the one thing that people do have to understand, and I think that you guys can appreciate this. When it comes to dispensaries, they're like, one of the only thing we've heard is, why would we want to carry a product? This is anti what we're doing. I'm like, guys, it's not. I go, think of it as a business. People come in here, it's the THC levels and some of the strains are so powerful. You've got a chocolate bar. My biggest thing on those is like, in your whole life when your grandma gave you a chocolate bar, did you just eat 2 bites? No. So you've got this candy bar or cookie, and if you eat too much, they're not only never going to come back to your shop, they're going to badmouth your shop to everyone. Whereas if you can say, hey, you know what, here's a bottle of this. If you happen to feel a little paranoid, if you go over, take it. It'll bring you right off that high. And once we get the word out and explain this to the dispensaries, it has really helped, and that's the thing we want. We're not trying to compete against the product. We're trying to help people understand that. I think you guys know this too. If you go to the hospital, they stick an IV in your arm, and I've seen reports they charge as much as $3,000 and tell you to ride it out. So do you want to spend $3,000 or somewhere between $12 and $13, and you're good to go within 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, definitely preaching to the choir here. We both are in full agreement with.
Well, I see double use with the product. I see it from a recreational perspective, right? Because we all know we don't always do responsible consumption on any level of alcohol, whatever, food, weed, but also from a wellness, like you said, people that need that amount of THC, but they just can't process it, but that's what their body needs. So they're still getting the medicine without that negative side effect. So it's a double side. Yeah.
And Becca, if you like to, after we're done here, you guys have my email address. Please give me your address and I'll send you down a box of it. Give it a whirl, and you guys tell me what you think of it, because that's the one thing I tell everybody. I just don't stand behind our product. I'll send it to you, and I want you to go online, and I want you to tell me how well it works, because if you go down and read everywhere, like I said, we have nothing to hide. It works fantastic, and that's what we're building the company on, and we're trying to do it from a grassroots perspective to get people aware of it.
Well, I know the first person I will give it to would be my mom, because for the last, 6 months or so, I have been experimenting with various edibles and tinctures and nighttime ailments. She's an insomniac, trouble sleeping, often late night, heartburn and just sleeping issues. And all the edibles and various stuff I've given her being, CBD and, very indica dominant, trying to get her to sleep, is having a reverse effect on her and keeping her awake and making her anxious. So I'm very excited to actually have her use this product so she can maybe get through that late night anxiety of what the THC and just the straight THC products are doing to her, which seem to be having the reverse effect than what they should be doing. So I look forward to that.
And I love to. Those are the stories. I got to tell you guys, that's what really inspires me to work 16 hours a day on this, you guys. It's just this story after story of people saying, oh my gosh, Bill, it worked for me. It allowed me, and there's no side effect. It's amazing. Especially to get, like you said, I don't know, I'd like to hear someday the story when my mom is over 82, when she found out I was going to be in a CEO in this industry, she's going to have a coronary right there on the spot. But after she understands now, she's like, Bill, really? And I said, yes, Mom, the government did this and make it sound bad. And it's amazing. Once you can have a reasonable conversation with a sensible person, you can turn them around.
I'm glad you actually said that, because I wanted to know, since you were coming from a professional background but not involved in the industry, what your interaction with your peers and your coworkers, and I guess the mom is almost expected to be maybe against it, but more of your immediate community. What have you seen of reaction?
God, that's a great question again. 180-degree turn. I mean, I've gone out and had dinner and cocktails with my immediate family, with my friends, coworkers. I mean, Fortune 500 executives, and they're all like, Bill, it's amazing. And you know what it is? Once they catch on, that's part of the excitement too, because I think I have the best job in the world. I have people beating my door down, calling me, going, Bill, how can I get involved? What can I do? What do you guys need? This is just a fast-growing view. I tell people, I compare it to the invention of the radio, the TV, the computer. It is going to be 10 years from now, I promise you, it is going to be a global industry that's going to rival anything out there as far as revenue throughout the world.
Well, I really like when professionals get involved who are not previously involved in the industry, because it brings some legitimacy to the business side and some credibility. And it takes away the argument that people have when you're a lifelong stoner like myself and you say, hey, I'm going to start a business and it's going to be about cannabis. People kind of look at you and say, yeah, of course you are, right? You're a stoner.
Yeah.
But when somebody who isn't coming from that background says they want to start a business, it really makes people stop and go, oh, well, okay, well, what kind of business are you starting? How are you going about this? What's your motivation?
Right. Those are very good points, because, and that's kind of what's, from our standpoint, that's what's kind of kept a lot of people out, because there are a lot of stoners out there, and when you're talking about business people wanting to invest millions of dollars in business, and they have the audacity to come to these meetings stoned, and that's kind of what gives it a bad name. But there are a lot of good people out there in the industry, just like in anything else, and you have to look past that. And part of the problem is, too, a lot of guys that run the dispensaries, I mean, no offense, again, I'm never trying to offend anybody, but they're not true business people. I mean, you got to market. I mean, I've just never been involved in that. I mean, running a business is a lot different than growing a little pot in your basement and selling it to your friends. There's a lot more to it.
There's definitely been a learning curve and I would say an advancement in the overall industry. Here in Denver, I can remember, 5-6 years ago, 2012, watching these little businesses pop up, the mom and pop, the growers, the caretaker system, when that was big. That's how it first came about. Everybody wanted to be a caretaker, and that was the business. So you were in business by nature of being a caretaker, which just meant you were a grower. Over the last 5+ years, it's really developed into small mom and pops growing into medium-sized 20, 30 people companies. And now we have companies like LiveWell, that have hundreds of employees, and they're all over the place, and they have hundreds of licenses, and they're dealing in multi-millions of dollars, and they have compliance that stacks up next to almost any other corporation. So it's changing and it's coming about, but there has to be somewhere in the middle where those who were previously not business people still have the opportunity to become business people. We can't lock them out, but we have to somehow get people to find where that path is to make themselves business people.
Tell you what, not knock them out, just help them. I've got to tell you, we work with so many people in Oregon, so many fine growers in Oregon, Washington, just the nicest people. And even though we're in the same business, we're in different categories and we don't really profit share either way with each other. And I have met some of the most wonderful people. I can't tell you, like I said, I would do my job for free. I love it that much. It's about helping people. It's about learning. It's about having compassion. It's about understanding. I just think it's time that business people really look at businesses this way as opposed to just being greedy capitalists and worrying about the bottom line.
I accept your offer. Can you start Monday morning?
Yeah. Actually, I want to tell you, I did work. I loved it so much. I did work for almost an entire year with no pay because I love it that much.
Great. If you can pay for your own transportation, work starts at 8 o'clock Monday.
No problem. I don't know how I sound on the radio, though. Might not work so well.
I think you sound great. I could talk to you all day.
Thank you.
You have information, you have experience, you have a desire to do something, you have all the elements that are there to make success happen. What do you feel like is holding you back? If you had a magic wand and you could eliminate one thing to make this business happen, what do you think is holding us back in the industry? Is it government?
You are so good at your job. I got to tell you, these are answers that are so easy to just come into mind. It is a multi-million-dollar advertising budget to make people aware on a grander scale. That is it. That is all I would require.
So how do we get that? Crowdfund?
Well, we're working on that right now. I think you'll be seeing, again, we have assembled and such an impressive team that we have got the answers for that, and we're very excited about that. I can't really talk about it right now, but you will be seeing it.
How much of your own do you vest into this industry? Do you open the wallet, or do you still take a third party, more of a traditional kind of keep your own money out of the game until you see what happens?
I want to tell you, I believed, and I'll be the first to tell you, I believed in this with my whole heart, and I poured every asset I have into it. I know this will not fail. If it does, I'll be coming to you for that job just to eat. I have put every cent of my life and every asset I have into this company.
That's what people need to hear, right? Because they want to follow somebody.
Yeah, and it's the passion.
If you only have your word in this life, that's it. And my word is everything. And like I said, when I tried this product, I was in awe. We have people, and I don't like to go on record to say this, but we have people that it works as fast as 5 and 7 minutes sometimes. We were at this show. It was in San Francisco, where they were called the paramedics. This one gal, she was actually we walked over, gave them a bottle. By the time the paramedics got there, she was sitting up, black blanket wrapped around her, was back to coherent, and she was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe your product works like this. And I said, well, I don't want you to say too much because people are going to think that we staged this, and we did not. But those are the type of things that I just love to see, and I love to reiterate to people when they actually use our product, and it makes a difference in their life. Because the other thing that people really need to know that I like to touch on, too, is you guys have friends, I have friends, everybody has friends and acquaintances. And anymore with the legalization, you have your children going over to people's homes who might not be as safety conscious as you and I are. And what happens when your 9-year-old sees that chocolate chip cookie and devours it? That's another huge avenue we're trying to tell people is that this should be a staple, just like Ipecac and Band-Aids in every home, just from that potential possibility. Just like that, I don't know if you guys heard that one 911 call from those police officer and his wife.
Yeah.
They ate the brownies.
Yeah. Okay, I hate to laugh about it, but first off, they stole the whatever, anyway. And I'm like, oh my God, they thought they were dying. Those are adults. So what happens when your children do this?
Right, it's an emergency pop-top situation, like a defibrillator, something you have around, so when an emergency situation happens, you can immediately, it's a vomit-inducing...
Like an EpiPen, like my son has, right? My son has
EpiPen, and that's another thing where the fallacy of business here works. So, EpiPen is a perfect example. Everybody used it, and then some greedy capitalist buys it and then quadruples the price.
Mylan.
That is something that I just abhor in this business, that those types of actions are allowed.
Yeah, I put a thing out on my Facebook right when school started because my son has a severe nut allergy, and so we have to get EpiPens, at least 2 to 4 EpiPens every year, and they cost us, with insurance, we have high deductible, so we never meet the deductible, and coupon, this year it was almost $600.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think about the families that don't have that $600. They just go without.
That's exactly right. Just like I was telling that one family that was taking a bottle. I'm like, gosh, you guys, you were spending, I wish you would have called me. I said, I'm glad I called you because I reached out to them. I go, you were spending, $1,500 a month? That's ridiculous. We'll work with you guys on that. For medical patients, we want to be there. We don't want anyone turned away because they can't afford it.
Right.
That's just wrong.
So since we're talking about price, what is the price point of your product?
The price point of the product runs anywhere from $12.95 to $17. Again, dispensaries, you know how they operate.
Yeah,
Some
their
of them are
markup.
just like, take the markup and double the price. We really try to push it that the suggested retail price is $12.95, but again, there's no price controls and we don't price fix. So
Okay, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
Well, I just think for me, I can recommend this to people that I need that product that I can recommend that works, like you say, and I can't wait to have it in my house because I have kids. So for me, if anything, at this moment, I know I can at least drive traffic to your website for people to buy or to research.
And it makes me so glad to hear you say that because we do. One of our very first clients was up in Canada, and she actually runs a consulting firm for people who have cancer, and they give a bottle to each person that comes in, and she's been one of our strongest advocates, and she's like, Bill, my clients come in, they try your product, they absolutely love it. She buys just an immense amount from us every month, hands it out to her patients, and they're just like, it makes it worthwhile. We don't have the paranoia and the anxiety. It makes us be able to take what we need to cure our whatever ailment they have. And it's just nice to hear people talk so great about your products that don't have side effects.
Oh, I love that. That's like music to my ears. If anything, it's making you better. It's healing you.
do you have a target person that you're going after, or like a doctor or somebody that you feel like if you could get your product in their hands, they would be the influencer, the catalyst that spreads your product to the end user?
There isn't, but when I read about Sanjay Gupta and everything that he has, if we could get someone like him to really, again, try the product first, that's what I tell people, and then, be an advocate to say that there is out there. I mean, we have a safety product. We want to spread that word, and we have to get to the right people, and shows like yours are a perfect example of target audiences, because one really cool thing, and I know that you guys know about this, it's so cool, is really it is a small community, and if we can just get it to go viral just a little bit to where people are talking about it, boom, it's out there. Once word gets out and people find out, then my job's pretty much done with that. So that's all we're really trying to kick off here is a grassroots. We think it's the best way to approach it. We would really appreciate somebody of major stature that has a huge following to come out and say, yes, there is a product out now. You don't have to worry so much. It's here. It's Canna Relief made by CannaSaftey, and the product does exactly what it says.
Do you have any type of case study or patient study, white paper, something of documentation that can be used as the information or the leading story to introduce it to new people?
We do have a little bit of it, but as you know, because of the federal government clampdown, we have to go overseas. Israel's got quite a few things done, and we are working on that, amassing the information. That is just a very time-consuming thing, and, we've been working on passing all the legal hurdles and showing everybody that it's, now that we're done with that, we can actually kick back and do exactly what you said.
Well, this is something I definitely want to keep track of, because as much as I get involved in patients and learn more about CBD treatment, my own son is on a CBD treatment for some issues, digestion and stomach inflammation and absorption of nutrition. And, there's so many people I meet where as much as I want to focus on business, I find myself just as much finding the patient side is really what it just comes back to. And those are really the two worlds in cannabis that we're trying to find the right balance for, is how much do we pursue it as just a business and how much do we pursue it as a medical program, a national medical program, because as much as they overlap, they still are their own paths. We have to think about issues.
You hit it, like I said, you must be clairvoyant because you hit it right on the head. And that's what is taking us a little bit of extra time, because we genuinely are trying to do both. I mean, we could just say, hey, we're a for-profit corporation. After, like most companies, after we make a ton of money, then we'll be these benevolent people and we'll do all this stuff. No, we want to do it and build it as we go. So basically what I told you is what we're really trying to do is set up a line for medical patients and then a line for recreational users. And that's what we're very diligently trying to do.
The recreational responsible usage.
Yes.
And safety if you are a consumer.
One of the exciting things I will tell you without mentioning any names is We have been talking to multiple big box store chains, and the reception that we have received has absolutely floored me and surprised me. It is one step below open arms. We are being catapulted up to the buyers at a rate that I have never seen in my 40 years of being a CEO.
What is the next 3-year goal? Not an end goal, not an exit strategy, just in 3 years from now, where do you see this developing into?
Again, you're so good at this. We want to be in every retail outlet that there is in the world, and that's what we want. We want our family of products to sit side by side and have everybody just know that if they try cannabis for whatever reason and there's an issue, they can run down to their local 7-Eleven, they can run down to their local Walgreens, Rite Aid, Fred Meyer, Kroger, I don't want to miss any because I know they all are, Walmart, and buy a bottle of our product.
Is this currently a product that meets federal regulation to be crossing state lines like CBD products, hemp products?
Positively. Right now, yes, we ship and we fulfill out of Texas, and we ship right now, we ship worldwide.
It's a product we can list on my website without any repercussions of advertising.
That is exactly correct.
Okay, let's make sure to talk about that.
Absolutely. We've already cleared all the hurdles and all those things. It's no different. I try to tell people, as you go into your local Fred Meyer and you have all these hemp ham lotions and
yes,
oils and all that, okay, all those are from the hemp seed, and those are all legal products, and that's exactly where our product falls.
Excellent. So for anybody currently that hears this conversation and wants to immediately try your product, where is the best place they should go?
They can go on Amazon, or they can go right to our website, CannaSaftey.com. And I oversaw the construction of our website. No pop-ups, no anything. You go on, you read down it, you click buy, and you're good to go. We don't sell the information to anybody. We don't give it out to anybody. We respect everyone's privacy, and we never will.
And it meets federal guidelines for shipping across state lines, so there's no fear there.
That is correct.
Amazon has accepted you, so you're on the largest platform, so they're okay with it, so people are safe to indulge in the CannaSaftey.
That's how I look at it. Amazon's got their lawyers, and if they look at it and say they don't do anything questionable, and so that's kind of where we kind of leave it.
Excellent. Bill, this has been enlightening because I really feel like I had no idea this product existed. It wasn't full clarity what I was really taking in. So now that I've had this conversation, I feel like I've learned something about a product that exists on the market that can truly benefit people. This isn't just a paraphernalia product. This is something that's deep in the health, wellness, the patient world of cannabis. I look forward in staying connected to your business on this. If you do a crowdfunding, please make sure to inform me so I can throw a couple pennies your way, as well as let my audience know that you're crowdfunding, or however you think about raising money. I don't know. People are doing all sorts of stuff.
But you know what? And I've learned so much today. And like I said, you guys, this is what makes my job so cool, is talking to people like you and just making people, like you just said, nobody really knows our products out there, and that's my job, to educate people to know that there is a safety net. You know how many soccer moms are going to be going into these recreational stores?
Right. There's the issue of learning how to consume edibles, and then there's the issue of what do you do when you've consumed too much.
You know what's so funny?
Yeah.
When you say that, just think of it this way. If you went into your doctor and your doctor said, here's the deal, here's your medication, take this, take a dab. Oh, but if you go over by so much as a rice grain, you're not going to die, but you wish you were going to die. You would look at him like, have you lost your mind?
I needed that the first time I dabbed. The first time I dabbed was November of last year. I was at this event and I did my first dab, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never been that high, and I'm like, I need to go for a walk. So I was a little at least experienced the fact, like, I need to go get a walk, I need to go find water, but I couldn't really find myself to the car. And then I'm like, this is how horror movies start. There was chickens running around, there was a barn, like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I think that's most people's first dab experience, is that dabbing being fairly fairly new to the scene and people unfamiliar with high concentrate intake of THC, there's probably many, many stories that a whole book could be written about people freaking out on their first dab experience. Your product should almost be sold right next to concentrates in the sense of almost as a mandatory that the state should mandate if you buy a concentrate, you should have at least on hand one CannaSaftey solution or pill. Or,
you know, my friends, I wish we were in the same office because that's what we try to approach a lot of these dispensaries to tell them, look, let's figure out a price point here where if the people buy more than $100, you just roll it in as a protection or tell them that you are, not requiring, but you are highly recommending that they have this. That's another thing that we're trying to do is educate the bud tenders so that they understand this. This is what we're about. Thank you for bringing that up. We have what's called, they come packed in a master case. There's 144 bottles in a master case. I'd like to send you each a full master case, and you can give away and have people come in and give away samples and say whatever you like to bring them into your dispensary. And for the first 144 people, they can get a free bottle of it.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. Well, let's bring this to an end by making sure people have all of your contact information, whatever you'd like to give, from social media, email, websites, personal phone numbers, your address if you want them showing up at your door. Let's make sure people get a hold of you.
Let's don't do that.
You can reach me. It's real simple. You can reach me personally, and I read all my emails, and I personally respond to them at bill@CannaSaftey.com. And our product is available on Amazon under Canna Relief or on our website at CannaSaftey.com.
Very good. I appreciate
it. I love
it.
to hear people. It makes my whole day. I love it. I don't care how many of them. Someday I hope to get thousands when people say they use our product and just take the time to email me. And I try to email everybody back the same day, but sometimes it takes a little longer. But I'd love to hear from anybody that's using our product, good or bad. We haven't had any bad ones, but I'm not opposed to people having their say as to what they think.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bill. I'm so glad we connected. We connected on LinkedIn, where people can also find you there, I guess, if you want to throw that out.
Yes, I'm available there, too. You can see a picture of me. And please give me your addresses, and I'll get you guys out those samples. I'll have them sent directly from Texas right to you, and then you can let me know, and we'll keep connected, okay? It's been very enjoyable. You guys made my whole Friday.
We'll stay in touch.
Super. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
There you have it, Cannapreneurs. That's all I have for you this week, but make sure to stay in touch with us. Stay with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, all the networks out there, even Mass Roots and YouTube. Make sure to follow us every week right here. Leave your comments, give us your feedback, be on the show. We want to see you every week. This is your community, so make sure to come back. We'll see you next week.